All right, good morning, Miss Baha. Man, I'm so thankful. I think I said this yesterday or the day before, but usually our Sukkot are pretty cold, or we might get some rain, or worst ones I ever had was when I was in Kentucky, a couple of years in Kentucky. Man, we had some ice wind come through, and those Sukkots were rough, but we were praying all year long, Abba, please give us beautiful weather for our last Sukkot. And man, it has been gorgeous. 70s, 80s. It's been 50s at night. It's supposed to be down in the 40s tonight, but that's no big deal. But it's just been beautiful, man. It's just, praise Yah for all his mercy and hearing our prayers. Amen. All right, so we are on day 64, Psalm 64. Hear my voice, O Yah, in my meditation. Preserve my life from fear of the enemy. Hide me from the secret plots of the wicked, from the rebellion of the workers of iniquity, who sharpen their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, bitter words, that they may shoot in secret at the blameless. Suddenly they shoot at him and do not fear. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They talk of laying snares secretly. They say, who will see them? They devise iniquities. We have perfected a shrewd scheme, but the inward thought and the heart of man are deep. But Yah shall shoot at them with an arrow. Suddenly they shall be wounded. So he will make them stumble over their own tongues. All who see them shall flee away. All men shall fear, and shall declare the work of Yehovah, for they shall wisely consider his doing. The righteous shall be glad in Yehovah and trust in him, and all the upright in heart shall glory. You know, I don't know if I said this before, but I've never noticed how much David talks about the enemy and all the schemes of the enemy and all the things that the enemy does to come against us and all the things that the enemy does to wear us down and to set traps for us and stuff like that, and both in the physical and in the spiritual. You know, how many times let me say it again. How much do we not even know of the times that people have planned a snare for us? I mean, in the physical, people who hate you, people who can't stand you or whatever, who have planned some kind of device to trip you, to hurt you, to whatever, and Yah prevented it, and you don't even know it. I have to wonder how many times, and there's no doubt in my mind that Yah has saved us probably more than we can count from death, from trickery, from people trying to mess with our life or something that we don't even know. You know, and David talks about it so much in the Psalms, man. I've never realized it, and I think it's something that we need to really stand and take attention to, because I noticed that the biggest battles that people fight is their own enemy, themselves. Sometimes, you know, that we all heard the phrase, we are our worst enemy, and in so many ways it's true, because we allow Satan to mess with our heads, to mess with our emotions, to make us feel worthless, to convince us that we're no good, to convince us that we're garbage. And, you know, the suicide rate in people is, from what I've heard, is higher than ever before. And, you know, we have generation of children growing up that are so disconnected physically and emotionally, because everything is text each other. Everything is digital, you know, computer and technology and stuff like that. So people are becoming so desensitized to other human beings, because there is no connection. Their connection is staring down at their phone all the time. Their connection is looking at that stuff to see other people, but they don't want to see each other in person. They don't want to be around each other. They don't want to they don't want to have that connection.
I see you.
I see you. You want to jump in here with me?
No.
Okay. But It's just these are all a part of the enemy's schemes. I mean, the enemy, if he can get us to have no connection to each other, then we don't care about each other, then we don't help each other, then we don't love each other, then we don't connect with each other. I mean, the list goes on and on. Then we don't, and that's why marriages nowadays are a dime a dozen. I mean, people trade each other in like used cars. I had you for a few years, I got what I wanted, I got out of it, now we're starting to fight, I don't like you no more, I'm going to trade you in for the guy next door, or for the woman down the street, or whatever the case may be. Or better, or worse yet, I decided I'm gay. I'm going to go have my own sex with same sex. And, it's like, it's insane. I mean, the marriage has been defiled so horribly. And all of these are schemes of the enemy. All of these, Satan uses people. I mean, I look like an old dude. I got a long gray beard. I'm not and I've had gay guys, young gay men, who have flirted with me, and I'm like, boy, I will tear your head off. You better get away from me. And the kind of things that the enemy even thinks that he's got a chance. But he just does it to mess with our lives, to mess with our minds. Our mind is the greatest weapon Satan has against us. Because what happens in here affects everything else. Our mind, our thoughts, what we allow ourselves to think, and everything else affects our emotions. If we think of something bad, we either have an emotional reaction of anger, sadness, whatever, it's negative. If we think of something joyful, then we have an emotion of happiness or joy or exhilaration or whatever it is. If we think of something perverted, then we have a physical reaction from that perverted thought. All this stuff all comes from here. This is why the armor of Yah, put on the helmet of salvation. Salvation is Yeshua's name. So we put on the helmet of Yeshua, because it is only by Yeshua, it is only by us surrendering and submitting our thoughts to Him that we will overcome these thoughts that we are blasted with by the enemy. It is the only way. That's why Yeshua, Paul, and all in the Brit Hadashah, the New Testament, it says that we are to submit our thoughts to Him daily. We are to surrender our thoughts to Him. We are to bring our thoughts into captivity. All these things. We are on a daily basis. Let my thoughts be upon you. Let the helmet of salvation be upon my head, to protect me from all the onslaught of the enemy trying to come in there and mess with me. It's our thoughts that make us react into depression and suicidal, because you go through life, maybe you had parents or you had family members or whatever that told you you're no good. I went through that growing up. My biological dad, all the years growing up, he told me all the way up until I was 18 when I left home, said I was worthless, no good, I'd never amount to nothing, and all this other stuff. And when I left home, I went through years of battling that demon that he had spoke onto my life, and and every time, man, things that I was good at, and I would strive after it. I'd get so fired up, and I'd be hungry, and when I see it's about to succeed, I would do something to sabotage it, because I didn't believe that I could actually do it. I loved the thought of it. I loved striving to make it happen. But once it was time for it to happen, I would sabotage myself, and I would destroy it, or I would quit, because I was afraid of failure, because I was convinced that I was a failure. And I went through that cycle for years before Yah helped me finally realize Yah took it away. When I dedicated my life to Yah, those are one of the first things that Yah broke in me, because being a pastor and stuff like that, it was like, ain't no way I'm going to be able to be a pastor or anything like that. And the enemy constantly tries to attack in that area. But I know Yah's the one that's in charge. It's His ministry. This all belongs to Him. This is His congregation, ain't mine. I'm just been given the privilege to be the shepherd over it. But all of us go through this stuff. You feel like you're stuck at where you're at. You're in an abusive relationship because you were abused your whole life, and you feel like that's the, daughters tend to marry the kind of father that they had. They marry that same kind of man. So if a father was abusive to his daughter in any way, shape, or form, then they marry a man that's like that, and they think that's what the husband's supposed to be. Or, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. If they saw their father abusive to their mother, then they think that's the kind of husband they're supposed to have for themselves. Or a mother, a lot of men tend to marry a woman that's like their mother. All these things, all these scenarios, all these ways. And all of this is what David is talking about. Even though he's talking a lot about the physical of those coming against him, it all applies to our enemy that we have every day on a constant basis. Mishpachah, we have everything to overcome and defeat these enemies. And his name is Yehovah Yeshua. He is our king. And everything that we do and go through, we have the authority to overcome it in his name. But you have to work, you have to act on it, Mishpachah. He's already given you the victory. Now take it. He's already given you the victory through his death and resurrection. He broke any hold that Satan had on mankind by his blood. He has no hold on you except for what you allow. It's up to you, Mishpachah. You break that hold. You take it away. You put him in his place, so to speak. Don't talk to him. That's not what I'm saying. Don't ever talk to the devil. Even Micah even says in Jude that Micah wouldn't even directly accuse Satan, but said, Yehovah rebuke you. You rebuke him. Don't conversate with him. I can't stand it when I see people or hear people say, man, I'll get in the devil's butt and I talk to him and tell him what I got. It's like, no, you don't do that because you don't have any power over him. You only can overcome him by the blood of the Lamb, by the name of Yeshua. We don't. He'll eat us alive. We need to also understand that he is more powerful than we are. If Yah was to pull his hand off of us, he'd tear us up in a second. But we defeat him in the name of our Messiah. That's what he's afraid of. He's afraid of that name. Activate that fear in him, and stop the fear that he puts in you. Reverse it on him. Bring it back on himself. Yeshua, rebuke you, Satan. Get thee behind me. And use that authority. But use it in all aspects of your life. You've got depression. You're going through a bad marriage. You're going through hardships. You're going through all this stuff. Then use it. Yah gave it to you for a reason. It's not Yah's will for you to suffer and to go through all this stuff and to be beat up and to be torn down and everything else. You belong to him. That's not his will. Quit believing that it's okay. Quit believing that that's just your life. It's not your life. It's not what Yah has for you. I mean, think about it. Why would a bridegroom just sit by and let his bride just go through this without giving her some kind of way out to give her strength? He's not just sitting there watching you be beat up. He's not going to do that. He fights for you. But if you push him away, he's not going to force you either. You need to get out of his way. Step back. Say, please take care of this for me. Please fight for me. Please help me. That's why he says all the time, all throughout the Tanakh, those who keep my commandments and walk in obedience unto me, I will fight for you. I will be your strong tower. I will be your dwelling place. Like the first Psalm 91:1, he who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. So dwell in the secret place of the Most High, and you will abide under the shadow of the Almighty. And I promise you, Satan can't come in that shadow. He don't dare try to come under that wing. Mishpachah, we'd have so much more victory if we would just let Yah fight for us and walk in obedience. Trust in Him. Stand in Him. Quit trying to do things of your own. Quit trying to take that fight on your own. And let Yah deliver you from your enemies as He did David. Amen. So Mishpacha, I love you. Have an awesome, amazing day. For everybody in Sukkot, may your Sukkot just be so blessed. Be sure to keep your camp clean, Mishpacha. Keep your camp clean. Don't let anything unclean be in your camp, so that Yah walks through your camp and doesn't find anything unclean and have to turn away. Deuteronomy 23:14. Keep your camp clean, so that He will bless it, and He will be with you, and He will sit with you, and He will dine with you in your camp of Sukkot. Amen. I love you all. Shalom, shalom.